Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is December 9th. Juan Soto signed last night with the New York Mets, Adamas the Giants, and more. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? Boy, do we've got a good episode for you here today. It's why I'm recording back on a Monday, so hopefully you guys will be able to check this one out because it is a doozy. So the schedule for me is all over the place, but I had to sit down and get this recording out because the big fish of the offseason has signed. Juan Soto is off the market. We had plenty of signings this weekend, actually, like a lot of really notable, players and agents come off the market here. And just before the winter meetings as well. So we've got a lot to talk about here. Let's dive straight on in and talk about that big fish, Juan Soto, heading to the New York Mets on what is a absolutely outstanding and absurd deal here. If you thought Ohtani was bad, this blows Ohtani out of the water almost. And to be honest with you, I don't know why. But in case you missed it, in case you're watching Chiefs and Chargers like I was last night, Juan Soto signs a new historic deal, the biggest contract in sports history with the New York Mets, 15 years for $765 million. And unlike the Dodgers, they have no deferrals in this deal. News came out that Soto can opt out after the 2029 season, and if he does, the Mets can void that opt-out by adding another $4 million to each of the remaining years left. That would turn that 765 into 805. He also got a $75 million signing bonus as well. There's not news I could find about the Blue Jays offer or the Dodgers offer, but the Red Sox offered about $700 million for 15 years, so the same year is just nearly $100 million left if you include those opt-out deals. And the Yankees deal was $760 for 16 years, so $5 million less. And an extra year more. If we're going off of just AAV here, off of the original deals here, that $760 through 16 years puts the AAV at $47.5 million. But with the Mets contract, $765 for 15, that AAV is about $4.5 million more, coming in at $51 million. Imagine making that much money. I cannot imagine making that much money. That is an absurd amount of money, and there's plenty to talk about here. If Yankees fans sound off because I saw videos of this one guy outside Citi Field screaming and thinging. I saw fans already burning jerseys. I guess this one hurts for the Yankees fans. It's tough, but you gotta imagine Soto brought you guys to the first World Series that you guys have seen since 2009. He had that clutch home run against the Guardians. And, that team was very good, but now you guys are Soto-less, so you'll have to see what kind of happens next for the Yankees here because they definitely need to make a lot of signings to kind of counteract Soto because that was a huge thing for them last year, that trade to bring Soto to New York originally from the West Coast. But yeah, Soto is heading back to the NL East, started off as a national and had been a national before getting traded to the Padres, and then, of course, last year getting traded to the Yankees. And here we are, his fourth team, heading back to the NL East to be a Met. Of course, Soto is a legendary hitter. He is probably one of the best pure hitters in the game. We're not talking offensively, we're just talking about hitting, so not including speed or anything else. Soto, I think, is better than Ohtani when it comes to hitting. His walk ratio is incredible. The guy, he will take 4 pitches if you don't want to throw to him. He will smash a ball 475 feet. He will hit to all corners of the field. He hits with power. He hits for contact. He is just a pure hitter, and it shows. He's a 2019 World Series winner with the Nationals, a 4-time All-Star. He's a home run derby champion, 5-time Silver Slugger, as well as a batting title. Finished second in Rookie of the Year voting in 2018. That was, I believe, Acuna who beat him out there. And then finished top 10 in MVP voting in the next 3 seasons, 2021 being his best one. He finished second in MVP voting. He could potentially be an MVP one day. He's going to be having to go against Ohtani in the NL, but, he's going to have some success here. And, year after year, all-star, just been incredible. 2021 to 2024, he's been an all-star all 4 of those years, so recent years. And he's just getting better and better, We haven't seen any kind of numbers like he had in 2021. Of course, COVID was incredible because of the shortened season, how much those numbers stand out on paper. A 351 batting average with a 1.185 OPS. But still, outside of a little bit of a difference appearance when he got traded from the Nationals to the Padres in 2022, he's put up incredible numbers. Last year with the Yankees, 989 OPS. He had 41 home runs in the Bronx and 109 RBI. So some incredible numbers for Soto. And this is, speaking of incredible numbers, this is an incredible deal. Steve Cohan, said that he was going to go out and get Soto. And I believed him. I sat here in free agency. I sat here once the postseason ended. I'm like, Soto's going to be a Met. I was 100% confident in that. And then, you had all this news, the Red Sox and the Blue Jays and the Yankees and the Dodgers, and it's this 5-team duel here. But in my mind, it just never felt right. It felt like, you have a player here where at the end of the day, he likes the city, he likes the team environment, and Steve Cohan and the Mets can offer the most amount of money. So if you want to call him a sellout, if you want to call him, a money grabber, you could do so, sure. But at the same time, Soto is a talented player. He is worth this kind of money. I wouldn't say this kind of money, but he is worth a substantial deal. I was expecting, somewhere in the 650, 660. And then to start the weekend on Friday, we were already talking about how it's already over 700. I'm like, well, that makes no sense because Ohtani's 700 and the guy can pitch too. If we're going off of contracts and value, then I don't know how Soto's is higher. But at the end of the day, Soto was the big fish to get. He is a huge at-bat. And remember, he debuted when he was 19, so he is only 25, going to be 26 next year. He is young. He'll be 40 when this deal is over if it goes the full 15 years. And that's a pretty, big deal here for the city of New York. For the Mets fans, because now you've got Lindor and Soto as a powerful 1-2. I think the team as a whole is, in the right direction. Remember, they were in the NLCS. They had their, oh my God, they had the magic, the devil magic that kind of helped them carry them into where they were standing come the end of their season. They finished 89 and 73, better than people thought, and they snuck into a postseason. And, now you've got Soto and Lindor, and, you've already traded for Jose Siri, and the team is looking good. Speaking of looking good, actually, I just want to throw this in here as we talk about the Mets. That Clay Holmes signed with the Mets this weekend as well. He's tagging along with Soto, also coming from the Yankees to the Mets, switching New York's. He's getting a 3-year, $34 million deal. He does have an opt-out, I believe, after 2026. I saw that, but it didn't say it was an opt-out, but just had player option. So I'm not sure which one to believe there, but I believe he does have an opt-out after 2026, so 2 years there, and can opt out for the last year. And the Mets are planning on using him as a starter. Now, this is always interesting to me when you're trying to switch from starter to reliever, reliever to starter, because it doesn't go out both ways. It goes out one or the other. So just for reference, Clay Holmes here did originate as he's a bullpen guy. That's what he was meant to be doing. He did get 4 starts when he was with Pittsburgh when he debuted in 2018. But after 4 starts, kind of got moved to the bullpen, was in the bullpen throughout 2019, although, long leverage, so 2-3 innings out of the bullpen. And then when he went to New York is where he found his success. Spent his first 4 years in Pittsburgh, and then in 2021 got traded to New York, where in 2022 was an all-star. 2023, he was great, but no All-Star nod. And then last year, he was an All-Star as well. Of course, last year, we know the struggles that Clay Holmes had in the second half of the season. In the first half, he was great, dominant, locking up saves. Second half, couldn't save a game if he needed to. I mean, this guy was coming out and giving up home runs and giving up base hits and losing the Yankees game after game after game. So eventually they switched him to just a regular relief pitcher role and moved Luke Weaver to the closer role here. So, but still a career ERA of 3.71. These last 3 years with the Yankees, 2.54 in 2022, 2.86 in 2023, and then 3.14 last year. He is as good as it's been, but we don't know what it's going to be like when he goes back to a starter. Those 4 starts, yes, it's the beginning of a career. Yes, it's with Pittsburgh. But that year, he had a 6.84 ERA, much higher and much not more worth it than his days as a reliever here. So, when we take a look at the Mets team now, talking about Soto and Clay Holmes here, you've got a team where the offense in the lineup is scary. That doesn't worry me. If you get everyone firing on all cylinders, you've got an elite 1-2 of Lindor and Soto. You've got such friendly faces of that franchise like Brandon Nimmo and Jeff McNeil, Francisco Alvarez, guys who have been around, who've done it. You got Starling Marte, a veteran outfielder piece. The offense is checked in my mind. Yes, you can make maybe a move at third base, Brett Beatty. Do you want to give him the time? Is he going to develop and be that guy that you guys thought he was? Mark Vientos right now is moving over to first if all things stay the same. So even without Pete Alonso, you still have Soto now. It's a different dynamic, but I think it works for the Mets here. What is the difference now for me is the pitching, because you've gone from, like I said, Sean Manaea and Jose Quintana and Luis Severino. We talked about this last episode on Friday when we talked about Luis Severino leaving New York for the Athletics. You now have Kodai Senga. They've signed Frankie Montas. They have Clay Holmes now, who they plan on using in the rotation. David Peterson, Paul Blackburn. Is that a rotation that can help this team out? We don't know. We do know that Clay Holmes, worst case scenario, if Clay Holmes goes as a starter and it just doesn't work out and he's struggling, you can easily move him to the bullpen and bring in somebody else to try. Like I said, they do have options in that farm system. They could even go out and sign another guy if they really wanted to. So there are options there for the Mets. Right now on paper, I'm not as afraid as the Mets as other teams, even with Soto, just because of that pitching. In my mind, Kodai Senga, he's coming off a major injury, but hopefully he can be what he was in his rookie year, because he was electric. He's great, and I love Kodai Senga. I think he's a great fit for New York, and I think he is that ace of that staff there. But then when you move on from that and you go to Frankie Montas, a guy who can be dependable, can be a great pitcher, but to be the number 2 doesn't math in my head. David Peterson, he's a guy who had a sensational year last year, but he also was coming out of the bullpen more. Same thing with Clay Holmes here. You're taking a chance on relievers being the starter roles. And, the bullpen, we saw how Edwin Diaz was kind of at times. We saw how they blew up, with Reed Garrett and Ryan Stanek. Of course, Stanek's not there right now. But I don't know, the pitching does scare me a little bit more. If I'm the Mets, I'm using the rest of this free agency, maybe go and sign, a Sean Manaea or Jose Quintana. You go get Adam Ottavino back. The bullpen can need some help. Pitching is definitely some worries here. There are a lot of free agents to re-sign and go through. So let's see what Steve Cohan can do. But hey, Soto, that is the big takeaway, the big key piece here, the big winner of, I guess we want to say winner for the free agency market. But even that, to be honest, I think it's an absurd amount of money. I think it's a lot to go get Soto for. And I think the teams that were in on him, like the Red Sox, like the Yankees, like the Blue Jays, in a way, call me crazy, but they also kind of just lucked out because you now have the option to go and get a bunch more, players and sign a bunch of other guys here who I think could help teams out a lot more. So, we'll see what the other teams do here, because obviously there's a lot of other great free agents still on the market here. One great free agent did sign this weekend here. So quick takeaway there, quick segue, because we're heading to talk about the San Francisco Giants, but more importantly, Willy Adames, who signed a 7-year deal with the San Francisco Giants, $182 million, and to my knowledge, no opt-outs, no trade clause, 7 straight years with the Giants. No way he's getting out of that one. And, we can go into the season a little bit, because all I will say is props to Willy Adames, man. He knew it was his contract year, and he put up some of the best numbers we have seen from Willy Adames since he debuted in 2018 with the Rays in 2022. Of course, he was one of the many Rays that have been traded over their recent years after trying to win the World Series in 2020 during that COVID year. The following year in 2021 is when he made the move to Milwaukee, got traded, and spent the remaining of 2021 as well as the next 3 years ending off his contract. But he had an insane year, a career year in home runs, 32 home runs for Willy Adames, 112 RBIs. His next most was 98, so he blew that number out of the water. He had 21 stolen bases. His previous 6 years, he didn't even have 10, and he's picked up 21 with the Brewers last year. A 794 OPS, so almost 800. He had 153 hits, a career high there. 33 doubles, a career high there. Just so many outstanding numbers from Willy Adames in his last year here before free agency, and he finished 10th in MVP voting. So overall, one of Willy Adames' best years for himself-wise, defensively and everything. So yeah, that kind of just pans in here nicely with the Giants, because I think their team will slowly start to come together. Of course, last year didn't go as well as they wanted, finishing 2 games under 500. But it also got away from them kind of quickly. Some injuries and, big injuries kind of left them stranded at certain points here. And, this is going to be a good year for them, I think, with an opportunity to kind of start fresh. Jung-Ho Lee, let's get a full season out of him, because that's the guy for me last year, and he's probably going to be the guy for me this year. Tyler Fitzgerald had an incredible year, debut year with the Giants. He'll be out there. Lamont Wade Jr.'s been around. Now you've got Willy Adames and Matt Chapman. That's a strong duo on the left side of your infield there. Mike Yastrzemski, another face of that franchise. Heliot Ramos continues to develop. Patrick Bailey continues to develop. So there's options there, and then the rotation as well. Logan Webb, as dominant and as, will hold the horses down for you. Just an outstanding ace. Robbie Ray coming in at the number 2 spot. Jordan Hicks proved me wrong, had a nice year, moving from the bullpen to rotation. Kyle Harrison, keep letting him develop and keep letting him get his opportunities, because he's looking like he's good. He's going to be able to work it out here. The bullpen, you got the Roger brothers, you got Ryan Walker, who was a huge success last year and helped out when Camilo Duvall struggled heavily. And, Duvall is one of those question marks of this year, because, could he be traded even? Giants were talking about trade talks with Camilo Duvall. So yeah, there's plenty of options here for the Giants. They can continue to add. And I think the Willy Adames move is a great add. I really think, I think the upside of Willy can be kind of, misleading at times, when you look at the numbers and you look at, his characteristics, but he is, that teammate guy, that clubhouse guy. He can really help the mood with those Giants, after tough losses, because sometimes I've seen the Giants kind of get down on themselves, and then that turns into like a 4 or 5 day losing streak and just struggles. So Willy Adames is definitely going to be a voice, definitely going to be a leader in that clubhouse. And, after a tough season against the Dodgers or the Padres, you know what? He's going to be the guy that kind of helps them turn things around, gets on the next page, and looks for the next series, because, it's going to be a long season, and it's going to be a long 7 years. But I think Willy Adames will fit in nicely with that Giants culture there and join a very tough and competitive NL West division where really, I think, will have a lot of success. So good for Willy Adames, and good for the Giants for going out and finally getting a move and getting a guy to sit. So many times the Giants were inked and linked to so many different players and always falling up short. So to get a guy finally for them is good for them. So good job, Giants. Moving on here, let's talk Dodgers since we're talking about the NL West here, because the Dodgers that went out and made a couple of moves this weekend. First and foremost, they re-signed Blake Treinen to a 2-year deal for $22 million, so $11 million each year. And then they also went out and signed Michael Conforto from the Dodgers, Michael Conforto from the Giants, a 1-year deal, $17 million there. So we'll start with Mr. Blake Treinen here really quickly. Because, he isn't the same pitcher he once was in that insane 2018 year with Oakland, where he was the best relief pitcher. Him and Edwin Diaz, outstanding stuff. If you don't remember Blake Treinen in 2018, do me a favor. Go and watch some YouTube videos after this, some highlights of Blake Treinen with Oakland that year. The guy was insane. 68 appearances, 80 innings, 100 strikeouts, 0.78 ERA. Guy was amazing. He had a 4.4 WAR as a closer. That's how great he was. He hasn't been that great. He hasn't had any other All-Star nods or anything else since that year. But what he does have is 2 World Series rings with the Dodgers in 2020 and 2024. And although he's not that same guy, he still puts up insane numbers. Last year with the Dodgers, at the age of 36, by the way, 1.93 ERA in 50 games, 46 innings pitched. That's incredible numbers. Only gave up 5 home runs. In 2021, 1.99. He's had 3 seasons really of sub 2 ERAs. Of course, 2022 and 2023 got erupted by injuries. He only played 5 games in 2022 and then missed all of 2023 dealing with some injuries there. So when you really go back to it, the numbers are still there though in the last couple of years since joining the Dodgers, and he will be around for his age 37 and 38 season. And as long as he can still do it, which he's shown that he can, there is nothing wrong with that. Treinen will be a nice add. With the amount of bullpen pieces they have, he's not really the closer anymore. But they can use him as such if ever needed to. But he is definitely the guy, a great setup guy to have for the 7th or 8th inning. And he is staying where he's found a lot of success, especially in the winning culture of the Dodgers. Like I mentioned, 2 World Series rings, so good for him. But they're also adding Michael Conforto from the San Francisco Giants. So, Blake Snell went from the Giants to the Dodgers. Now Michael Conforto went from the Giants to the Dodgers. So the Dodgers just doing their shopping from the NL West Division, from their main rivals here in the Giants. Michael Conforto, of course, longtime Met, spent the last 2 years with the Giants after not playing in 2022 due to an injury. The one-time All-Star in appearance in 2017. He's not the same hitter he once was with the Mets. That's to be stated. That 2017, 2018 era, even 2019, he had great numbers. So really, before COVID, he was kind of on track to be this nice power hitter. 27 home runs, 28 home runs, 33 home. Last year with the Giants in 2023, we saw glimpses of that, but also just kind of faded. He had 15 home runs, 125 games played, a 718 OPS. The numbers weren't really there. Last year, the Giants steps up, picked up 20 home runs, so an extra 5 here. You keep moving the needle a little bit. A 759 OPS, so the hitting numbers improved from 2023 to 2024. So the Dodgers are hoping they'll improve even more, or maybe they can fix him to kind of go back to those 2017, 2018 Mets days. Of course, that was when he was in his mid-20s. He's going to be 32 this year. And, a 1-year deal with the Dodgers. So, probably got to be out there playing left field, maybe right field. Of course, the Dodgers are still linked to a bunch of other free agent names, such as Teoscar Hernandez, who, of course, if they can sign him, changes it a little bit more. Right now, the outfield has Andy Pages in left, Tommy Edman in center, and then James Outman in right. Not sure if that will stay. Of course, Outman had some of his own struggles last year, but assuming Conforto will be out there for at least right-handed pitchers, and then maybe take the days off for left-handed hitters, pitchers. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets used there. But overall, good for the Dodgers to go out and get, re-sign Treinen, help out their bullpen, go get a nice bat. Conforto's been a nice bat. He's a nice lefty bat and a nice option there for them. So, I think everything will work out for the Dodgers nicely here, and they'll continue to add and and make their own moves for the offseason here. So we'll see kind of what's next for the Dodgers, I guess. Speaking of teams that did a lot this weekend, how about Baltimore? They went out and they signed a couple of pieces here. Most notably, Tyler O'Neill and Gary Sanchez, both joining the Baltimore Orioles here. One coming from the Red Sox and one coming from the Brewers here. Of course, the notable one here being Tyler O'Neill. He's heading on a 3-year deal, $49.5 million. Does have the opt-out after the 2026 season, so 2 years, can opt out and avoid that last year if he wants. And then Gary Sanchez joins with a 1-year deal, $8.5 million. Tyler O'Neill, Canadian. What do you know? Spent his entire career with the Cardinals up until last year, where he got traded to the Red Sox and had a phenomenal year with Boston. Offensively, he was great. It's probably his second best season outside of his 2021 season, where he had 8th in MVP voting, 138 hits, 34 home runs, outrageous numbers there in St. Louis. But last year, 31 home runs, 99 hits, and 847 OPS, second best of his career. Nothing else really going on for him there, but he's been a great player. He has 2 Gold Gloves in his career, so he's a good defender out there in left field as well. Of course, Boston a little bit different there with the wall, but he heads to Baltimore in the same division. Of course, that left field wall will be moved in this year, so we'll have to see how that's different and how that plays out. But Tyler O'Neill, great power bat. When he's right and when he's clicking, that ball is being launched. So expect him to do some big things here for Baltimore. And then Gary Sanchez, heading back to the AL East after a little bit of a hiatus from going from the Yankees to Minnesota, to the Mets, to the Padres, to the Brewers, now heading back to the AL East to join the Baltimore Orioles. The 2-time All-Star and the Silver Slugger, of course, has not been the same since his early days with New York, coming in second in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2016, All-Star MVP in 2017, 2019 an All-Star, just outstanding numbers, and then his numbers slowly start to trail from there. Still has a lot of power in that bat, just had a harder time putting bat to ball. That's what he's been struggling at, and that's where he has been finding a lot less amounts of success. Last year with the Brewers, had 89 games played, had 54 hits, and only 11 home runs. That's second worst in his career. The only year that he had a lower amount of home runs was in COVID. He had 10, and he did that in 40 less games. So numbers have trailed to 220 batting average and a 699 OPS. Backup catcher. Of course, they have Adley Rutschman. So what do you expect? Do you expect, do you expect him to start? He's not starting. Gary Sanchez is the backup catcher for Adley Rutschman. Tyler O'Neill, though, should be playing left field and should be getting the starting nod for Baltimore here. Who needs to work on their team a little bit more? We've seen Baltimore. We've seen all those amounts of success. The kids are here. Let them play. They've been playing. They've been good. They haven't been great. We saw them in the postseason against Kansas City. If you don't remember that, I don't blame you, because they were pretty much duds. They didn't do much offensively. 1 home run from Cedric Mullins was the only run they scored. The pitching was there. The pitching was good. But of course, the pitching also had Corbin Burns, who is a current free agent. They're trying to sign him back potentially, but who knows? Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Tyler O'Neill, you throw in the mix there, Colton Cowser, Mountcastle, Mullins, Westbrook, Holiday. They have lots of kids here. The team will develop, the team will figure it out here. But you got to look to that rotation. Zach Eflin right now is the ace, with Grayson Rodriguez coming in behind him. Dean Creamer, Albert Suarez, and Trevor Rogers. Some of these guys had a lot of better years than people expected. Albert Suarez, one of the guys that comes to mind there. Dean Creamer had an interesting year last year, but as a whole, you need a lot more pitching to get things done here. You're going to have to go out and sign a Jack Flaherty, a Corbin Burns, a Max Fried type of pitcher, kind of just stand out here. Of course, the bullpen was always questionable last year without Felix Bautista. I'm not sure what his timetable is looking like, but he will be back at some point next year, and that will be huge for the O's there. So Anthony Dominguez, Keegan Aiken, Yernier Cano, Gregory Soto, Sanel Perez. The bullpen is nice, Bautista makes it amazing. But yeah, they need more veteran appearances here. This is what Tyler O'Neill's going to do. This is what Gary Sanchez is going to help out with. You go sign a big starting pitcher, and we like Baltimore a lot more entering the 2025 season. But it's good for them to get off there, get off and go out and start making some signs and start making their team better. That's going to, help you out. And that's kind of the goal here. So Baltimore staying intact here and making some signs to help out their team when they need it. Moving on here, Shane Bieber also signed this weekend. Staying with the Cleveland Guardians here. He's back on a 2-year deal with $26 million. He can opt out after this year if he so chooses, and this makes a lot of sense because Bieber was hurt this year. We did not get to see him at his best. Had 2 appearances, didn't give up a single run. 2 appearances, 2 starts, I guess. 12 innings pitched, so 6-6. 10 hits allowed, so 5-5, 20 strikeouts, so 10-10, if you want to break things down between starts. So you got a guy here who's going 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, and 10 strikeouts, and gets you a win. He was 2-0. Great start. Got hurt, and we hadn't seen him for the rest of the year. We've seen him hurt before. He's dealt with some injuries, but he's also dealt with a lot of success, getting his first All-Star nod in 2019, debuted in 2018, where he went 11-5 with a 4.55 ERA, so he was getting wins despite giving up runs. Then in COVID in 2020, he was one of the guys that benefited from COVID year because he was the Cy Young winner, finished 4th in MVP voting, had an outstanding year, 122 strikeouts, 1.63 ERA, and 8-1 record. He was dominant for the Guardians, or Indians at the time, I believe still. Either or, it came into 2021, also was an All-Star, and then in 2022, won a Gold Glove. And then, of course, 2023, which is his most recent full season, and I say full, but he was still hurt at times. He had 21 starts in 2023, a 3.8 ERA. He was 6-6 record-wise, 107 strikeouts, 128 innings pitched, gave up 14 home runs. So still a great pitcher, still a dominant guy. But of course, last year, being his contract year, the numbers are incredible, but they're only 2 starts, and obviously he got hurt and was staying out for the rest of the year. So this is a good opportunity for Bieber to come back to a place he knows, to a team that he knows. He's going to be 30 years old, and basically how this deal is going to go is if Shane Bieber comes out and if he shoves it, if he has, a top 10 Cy Young, voting, and he's just outstanding and he's got a sub-3 ERA and all this stuff, he will probably opt out of his deal and look for his big contract that he so rightfully deserves. But if he does come back from injury, struggling, not feeling like himself, trying to build things up, and just seems to be having a tough year, he probably will stay with the Guardians for the 2026 season. I believe that the contract, I remember seeing it, but I forget if it was for him or something else. It's 2-year, $26 million. I believe it's going to be $10 million this year, and then $16 million in 2026. So that's my understanding of his contract here, and it makes sense. The year that you definitely have him, pay him less, and then if he chooses to opt out, he's walking away from $16 million. So if Bieber plays well enough that he thinks he can get more than $16 million, he will opt out. If he doesn't, he will stay and be a Guardian for 2026 as well. But knowing Bieber, as long as he's healthy, he is going to shove and be a top dog, probably be the ace of that Guardian staff. And, having him back will help them. We saw how great Cleveland played last year. They're surpassing all kinds of expectations under the leadership of Stephen Vo. They got Kwan, Manzardo, Ramirez, Naylor for now, Jimenez, Bo Naylor. And the team is just absolutely great. It was a rotation that was always questionable because they had so many injuries, but right now, you go off of like a Tanner Bybee, Ben Lively, Gavin Williams, Tristan McKenzie type beat. You throw in Shane Bieber to start that. That's more lethal. The bullpen was fantastic. One of the top 3 bullpens of the baseball world, led by Emmanuel Clase, and thrown in the mix with Cade Smith, Hunter Gaddis, Nick Sandlin, all the other guys. There. So, Sam Hentges and everyone. So Guardians making the move, bringing back their staff, their ace guy, Shane Bieber, and we'll see what kind of year he has for 2025. And the last big signing that happened, and I say big, but it's definitely the smallest out of all of the ones we've had so far here today, is Danny Jansen. The catcher is heading to his third AL East team already. He is joining the Tampa Bay Rays. Of course, Danny Jansen, longtime catcher with the Toronto Blue Jays, debuting in 2018 at the age of 23. Spent 7 years with the team. Last year, 2024, Blue Jays, of course, struggling. They fell off and they had to trade away pieces. They did so. They traded Danny Jansen to Boston, where he put up some nice numbers while he was there, and now has signed a 1-year, $8.5 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. Good for Danny Jansen and good for the Rays, to be honest with you, because that is a huge upgrade for them. And with a price tag of 8.5, that is a great deal. Of course, that's the same amount of money that Gary Sanchez got, and in my mind, I think Jansen is a lot better. Whether the numbers will back that up or not, I've watched Danny Jansen a lot. I've seen him in person. I've seen him hit 3 walk-offs, so quite familiar with Danny Jansen and his game here. He will slot nicely kind of into the middle of that Rays lineup, kind of batting 5th there, surrounding himself with Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lowe, Junior Caminero, Josh Lowe, Christopher Morel, and others. So the Rays are always going to be interesting, with their rotation kind of coming back to form, with Shane Baz and Jeffrey Springs and Shane McClanahan and, Drew Rasmussen and all the other guys who were hurt / the Rays bullpens and the rotations and pitchers just figure it out. I don't worry about that. But the Rays will be interesting, of course. They'll be playing not at their Tropicana field anymore for now. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of season they have here. It's 1-year deal, 8.5. Hopefully Jansen can ball out and have an incredible season, put up outstanding numbers. We'll have to wait and see to that. But for now, signs a deal with the Rays. Will be joining the team there. And good for him for figuring it out, and hopefully he can find a lot of success. Last bit of news here to go over, I guess, as we enter the week of December here. And I say the week because it is the winter meetings. Hello, second week of December. The winter meetings are here. Expect some big names, This is kind of where I would expect an Alex Bregman, a Pete Alonso, a Max Fried to sign. Not all of them maybe, but definitely 1 or 2 big moves happening for the winter meetings. It always seems like something big happens during the winter meetings. We'll have to wait and see for that. Already starting off the news this morning was that Roki Sasaki did get posted for MLB teams. So he is now, in the process of being available to MLB teams alongside another, someone from the Korean League. I believe Hyun Kim, I believe is the name. I kind of didn't even remember. But Roki Sasaki is going to be posted. He's chilling, and that's a big fish in my mind. I think I've seen this guy in the World Baseball Classic. The guy was a stud here, and Roki Sasaki to be posted here. Will he end up as a Dodger? Will he end up somewhere else? He is definitely a big name to get, and he's also extremely young, so definitely a guy worth going after here. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here today. The winter meetings will be underway here. A year ago yesterday, I was watching a plane fly to Toronto to see Ohtani sign with the Jays. A year later, Soto signs with the Mets on a outstanding historic deal. And December 8th, man, mark that day in the calendars for next year, because that's the day that always seems to have some big, crazy stuff going on. I'm not sure what's going to happen this week. If I'm going to do an episode Friday, I did one now. We'll see what kind of news happens. At this rate, I don't know if I can just promise a consistent schedule. I kind of want to do it once a week here, whether it be on Mondays or Fridays here, but I also don't want to overwhelm an episode with so much signing. So I think I'll probably just kind of wait until there's about 5-6 guys that are signed that are worth talking about, and then upload episode either on Monday or Friday. So, if you're new here and you like the content here, appreciate, for listening here. You can go ahead, drop a subscribe down if you're watching this on YouTube, or whether it's on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you get your podcasts from. I appreciate you guys all. And yeah, I guess we'll just kind of wait and see when the next episode will come out. So make sure you're checking for Mondays and Fridays, or if you're on YouTube, you can ring a bell, and that will get you notifications when I do upload, and it gets you another episode here. I appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody, so much, and I will see you next time.